Hello everyone, so I just finished my playthrough of Atomic Hearts. I played this on PC through my Game Pass extension, so yes, if you have Xbox Game Pass, you'll be able to play it there with, of course, the subscription. So yeah, did that save a little bit of money, but yeah, this game took me about 9 hours to get through my first playthrough, and then I've been going back, rediscovering a few things. So I have a little more than 15 hours so far within Atomic Hearts, and I will link at the end of this video the part 1 to my playlist. I have it all up on YouTube, so I'll definitely link it at the end there. But yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for Atomic Hearts. So this is a first-person shooter video game developed by Munfish Studios, published by Focus Entertainment. You'll be able to find it on, again, to PC, so Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It came out on Monday, so the 21st of February. So yes, it is out now. You'll be able to find it. Yeah, it's definitely a first-person shooter with a lot of role-playing elements and customization, but the main story setting of this game, Atomic Heart, takes place on the grounds of Facility 3826 in the Soviet Union's foremost scientific research hub in alternate history 1955. So this alternate timeline is basically if Russia won World War II. So a lot of what I can compare this game to is a lot of the gameplay and feel of the BioShock universe mixed with that alternate history and just wild, way out of left field, crazy story that Wolfenstein has. So mash those two together, and that's really what you get with Atomic Hearts. But yes, 1955, Soviet Russia, after they won World War II. One of the main reasons they won is that about 20 or 10, well, a little bit before the war, one of their scientists discovered a liquidized programmable module called Polymer. And speaking of massive technological breakthroughs in the fields of energy and robotics, the USSR basically had the upper hand very, very quick within that war because of, again, too, just the crazy scientific advancements that this polymer was able to do. And again, too, a lot of that was creating AI, intelligence, robots to serve humankind in a lot of ways. So the USSR is the world's most powerful nation. They plan to unveil a program that's, again, so just going to launch to the entire world, bring these robots that have been helping their country to the rest of the world, again, to in one, a sign of power, but also in a sign of peace. And launching with that is an artificial intelligence network called Collective that's basically links his robots together for greater efficiency. It's going to be launched all throughout the world, but right before this launch happens, all chaos breaks loose and Russia is thrown into a robo-apocalypse. The robots start rebelling against humans, killing everyone and everything in their path. They're just hell-bent on destruction, and you play as someone named P3, who is basically, think of him as one of Russia's top soldiers, who is very, very close to the people responsible for this collective launch. They're responsible for the robots, and you're thrown into the chaos, wake up basically from a coma 2 days later after a lot of Russia has been taken over by these robots, and most of the country is dead, and the leaders are all scrambling to cover up, again, too, what happened here so that they can still launch Collective. But it's your job to basically figure out exactly what happened, who caused this attack, and take them down. So again, too, a lot of times I forgot that this game did take place in Russia just because of the voice actors not really having the Russian accents, not speaking in terms that were, again, dated to 1955. A lot of it is very, very modern slang and things like that they're using. So I found, even though the setting was really, really cool, you definitely weren't able to tell that this took place so far back in the past. Like in the Wolfenstein games, you still know that those games take place in like the 60s and whatnot, just because of the mannerisms people are using, the way the world looks, infrastructure looks. A lot of it is just so heavily again, to artificially designed, and all the buildings that are within this definitely make you forget that you're in that time setting a lot of the times. And again, so P3's dialogue is something very, very funny. I found him really annoying and just really too animated for, again, to what I thought the main character or character like him would be throughout really this game. A lot of his dialogue is just kind of eye rolling. I don't want to say cringy or anything like that, but definitely feels really out of place. Like again, a lot of this world feels, even though it is a really, really cool and amazing world, I love all again to just the little details they have in it, whether it be the ginormous statues of again their leaders, their robots, and again to just the design of them and of all the enemy variety, things like that. It is a really, really cool world that really you can tell right off the bat that it takes inspiration from Bioshock Infinite, from Columbia in a lot of ways. And they definitely do make really, really good use of that. Again, to shaping all these amazing floating research laboratories that you see in the sky and shaping the story all around that was something that I found absolutely fascinating in the way that Russia was able to again create these robots and all the different types of them and how they interact with the world before and after and well, during this robopocalypse is something very, very cool too, very dark and disturbing. And even like right off the bats when they're explaining a lot of the history and the lore of this world, you can easily tell the really fine line that the country was walking with the scientific advancement that they're doing and basically turning humans into machines and definitely messing with people's minds in terms of being able to program certain abilities within humans to make them completely functional and experts on any topic you could dream of. So you can easily kind of see where a lot of this would go with again to the type of characters that you'd be dealing with, kind of like how in Bioshock you have the splicers, a lot of the humans and whatnot that you face. You fight robots for the most of the time, but a lot of the humans that you face would definitely be crazy, definitely narcissistic people because of how much intelligence that they have within them and the ways that they again too it's programmed in your head, so the way that you would speak about these things comes off in such like a narcissistic fashion. People haven't yet developed their minds and their understanding of the subjects, even though they know how to do all these amazing things. Just the way that they speak about what it is that they know and what they can do. Again, too, they have like no experience about it, but it's just all programmed in their minds. And I found that again, it's just the way that they shaped that was really, really cool. And I did find that that was a really, really, really good piece of writing within this story. And the story itself is pretty damn good for the most part. I found paced really weird at some points, or not explained in terms of some of like the dream sequences that they do, or I found like those were a bit of a cop out in terms of the way it told its story. It was definitely the rougher points when they got into those patches of again too just the almost acid like trip sequences that you play through sometimes in this game. It definitely broke the gameplay in a lot of ways, but the overall arc of again to who started the Robocalypse, why it happened, all of that unfolding, I was very, very interested to learn. And again, to just the way that they really shaped this world and gave it so much life and history was really, really cool. The characters, again, too, were all pretty damn animated for the most part, but I really liked the story of this. I enjoyed it, and I was pretty satisfied by the end of the game. I found the ending was a little weak and they could have explained something a little more. I know there is some multiple endings, but yeah, I don't know if it exactly leaves things open for a sequel or not. But taking the story and the synopsis all like again to within it, I found it was very, very good. It had good twists at the ends, very twisty. But yeah, I did really, really like the way that they're able to tell and shape this story overall. Again, so it has its issues, it definitely has its pacing issues, but a lot of things make sense and were very, really well written. When it comes to the gameplay around it, there's a lot to talk about with the gameplay, but I'm gonna kind of get into the pacing of it first. Very, very action heavy for a lot of the times. There is a lot of looting and exploring that you're able to do. A lot of the missions can feel like they're dragged out. A lot of the times they throw a lot of puzzles at you. They throw like 4 or 5 floors that you need to run to reassemble a robot, and a lot of it just feels really, really forced upon you a lot of times. Again, too, these facilities are massive that you would be going through in all reality if you want to take the world of the story, but I found a lot of it just felt way too tedious for its own sake, and again, it really broke up the gameplay in a lot of ways. And this game definitely could have been shorter, and I think the better for it if they were able to again fine tune some of the level design within this game. Some of the puzzles, I don't want to say they're confusing, but just way too tedious for them, like for their own good. There's one where you have to assemble like a train track or move a train through just a crashed facility, so you're having to jump from platform to platform, turn the tracks, move the train, and do that like dozens of times throughout it. And I just found that the enemies that they threw at you and how constant they were definitely just made that whole sequence really, really frustrating. And there's a lot of points in the game where you run into that exact same problem. But overall speaking, a lot of missions are really, really well done. I just found, for the most part, they were stretched out quite a bit longer than they absolutely needed to be. The gameplay itself is very, very smooth in terms of the combats. I did have a lot of issues with glitches on the screen. Sometimes my character would fall to the floor and I'd be stuck and I had to reload at checkpoints. And the checkpoints in this game definitely aren't forgiving. I got set back about 15 minutes on that one where all of a sudden my character just sunk through the floor. So that definitely sucked. There are little save stations that are not frequent at all. Sometimes the game will save for you on its own. But there's these little, almost think of it like Dead Space. You'll see these little terminals where you go up to it, save the game that way, and a lot of them come to the room or the thing of save rooms that'll be in between missions. But most missions in this game are a few hours long, so yeah, you don't really get a lot of save points that way in a sense. So if you die, it's setting you back a long ways away. I played this on the medium difficulty. It wasn't too bad to get through once I got used to the gameplay. It can feel really clunky at first, but once you get used to it and upgrade your weapons, upgrade your abilities, and really find which weapons you like, it definitely opens it up in a lot of ways. You have 4 weapon slots that you can customize really however you want. Whatever you want in your arsenal, you can customize it, and that'll range from pistols to shotguns to assault weapons to energy-based weapons to melee weapons like axes, whether it be double-handed or single-handed. And there's a lot of combat abilities that'll change different throughout them, and a lot of upgrades that you can put on them that'll just have them upgrade the ammo capacity, do more damage, things like that, just the really simple things like that. And you do that by collecting resources around the world. And one of the ways you collect resources is one of the characters in the game is a polymer glove that'll basically stick it out and almost think of it as like the force where things will just draw, you collect resources from it. So opening cabinet shelves, things like that, you just stick your hand out, move it over the objects that you want, and it'll basically suck in all the resources right into your glove, and you'll use those to create new weapons, craft ammo, craft upgrades for yourself and your glove. So there's a bunch of different upgrades that your gloves will do, where some will basically give you kinesis, some will freeze things, some will give you a shield that's a little tough to break for enemies to get through. And again, to just overall upgrade your character, to give him more health, make him faster, make him reload quicker, things like that. So there's quite a bit of customization, and you definitely can, if you want to explore this world, and there is a decent amount of exploring that you can do. There is a lot that you're able to customize within your character and just fine tune it to the way that you want to play. Again, so you have 4 weapon slots that you can pick and choose from anything that you want, and then you have 2 slots on your glove. You always have a shock attack that'll, again, a little short fry the robots or anything that you're fighting, and then 2 other slots that could, again, to range from kinesis to basically ice. It can spread out like a little like rocket that'll shoot out, things like that. Just a lot of different things that you can acquire. I definitely did the cryo freeze a lot of the times, and I also did the kinesis for a little bit, but I always had my shield on because I found that was a really, really great way. I really like the melee combat in this game. It felt really smooth in a lot of ways, reminded me of Dead Island in some ways, or again to the Bioshock games. But if you're able to get up close, have them hit your shield, bounce off it and stagger a little bit, and then hit them with a heavy attack, that was a really, really good way to dish out a lot of damage, especially including the boss fights within this game. And the boss fights are all pretty damn good for the most part. I still think the first one, this giant like ball bot that you fight, that's I can say similar from Syndrome's like ball bot in the first Incredibles movie, was easily one of my favorite ones. It was really, really good. The best one is definitely the very last one where you fight the 2 robot twins that I'm certain you've seen on the cover arts and things like that for this game. That was an amazing boss fight, and they're definitely the best sections of the games in terms of the combat because of how smooth they all run and how fast they are compared to you definitely too. So it really shakes up the gameplay a lot of ways. There's no sprints button, but your character does have like this double dash that feels a little clunky, but once you get used to it, I found it was really, really nice to use, and I was able to maneuver any which way I wanted to and dodge any which attack that I was able to react to in time just fine. So a little hard to get used to for a lot of the gameplay, but once you get used to it, do it enough, I didn't really have any problems with it. But yeah, with all the enemy variety, it is pretty good for the most part. You fight the same kind of regular henchmen for a lot of the first game, but then they start throwing tons of enemies at you at a lot of sections in the game. There'll be like these little chainsaw dog heads, kind of like Pochita, but completely metal, that'll run at you. Big robots, lots of turrets that they can climb up walls and shoot you from really far distances away and do a lot of damage. Lots of tanky enemies, lots of sniper enemies. So you definitely get put into situations where you really have to fine tune where you want to, again, to shoot from, hide from, all those things while the robos are attacking you, because they'll throw a lot at you at a point in time, and sometimes it can get very overwhelming, but not in a way that I ever found unfair. There were a few times where like the robots definitely trapped me in a corner, which I felt like I should have been able to get out a lot easier. But a lot of it too was just my fault for putting myself in these situations, going into these corners thinking I could outrun them in a lot of ways. So never did I find the combat to be unfair. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed getting into the world of this, learning into a lot of the the gameplay mechanics. It's really, really fun once you get into it and you can fine tune the abilities the way that you want them to. Again, too, a lot of the sections can drag on a lot of the times, and there was a few times where I definitely had to push through. I would have stopped if I knew I was at a checkpoint, sort of thing. But I had to grind through more than I would have liked to in like one sitting a lot of the times, just trying to get through. It's not that I ever like hated the game or never wanted to touch it again, but I just found a lot of times it got a little too tedious for my liking. The driving in this game too is a little there'll be certain driving sections that are very constricted and claustrophobic in a lot of ways, and yeah, it's really, really weird. um, Definitely, I think something this game could have done without, or just they needed to fine tune it a lot more. You can't shoot at enemies while you're in the car, and a lot of the times I found it took your character forever to get out of the car when it's on fire, and it took damage really, really easily. And there's only like one set of car that you can drive to. That's it seems like most everyone in the whole country has conveniently. Again, too, just certain sections that didn't work for this game, but a lot of it really, really works. And when it works, it's great. It's fun. The story's awesome. The characters are really, really over the top, and I had a lot of fun with a lot of them. And just the way that the story was able to shape, I found was really, really well done. Definitely hilarious in a lot of ways, and definitely a game I'd recommend playing with headphones, because there is some very dirty language that gets thrown into this game. It definitely leans into the fact that you definitely know the makers of this game were horny as fuck when they were designing a lot of the characters and the dialogue. You'll have like robots scream sex aneurysms like straight into your headsets a lot of the time. So definitely, if you have people you don't want hearing things like that, play this game on with headphones on. But really, with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give Atomic Heart a 7 out of 10. It's badass. There's a lot of things I liked about it, but there are a lot of technical issues just with, again, to things disappearing, your character falling into the floor, people's faces not rendering improperly. A lot of times I felt like the dialogue didn't match the lips. Some of the dialogue is really, really bad, but overall it's really, really fun and definitely a romp. If you love like the Wolfenstein games, Bioshock games, I would definitely consider giving this one a go, especially since it's on Game Pass. I think it's worth it, but as again, too, like a full price game, can't really say it's worth it too much for that full price tag. Wait until it goes on sale or get it on Game Pass. I feel like that's the best way to play this game. So if you played Atomic Heart, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below and what your favorite thing about it was. Of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on the channel for the playlists down below, and I'll link them up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. And check out the description of this video or my channel bio. There's a link to the media amounts of which in my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So yeah, if you join that amazing community, help me give you more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.
Hope that someone would love me.